Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get some high. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning. It is Monday. What's the date today? I don't even know. It's the 25th. It's the 25th of November. You are watching live day trading with me, Speculator Seth. Day trade the Treasury markets and the equity markets a little bit too. And yeah, you know what? It's just Monday and I'm kind of upset that it's Monday. Not really. You know what? I had a good weekend. So we got some interesting activity going on in the market. I know that I already say that. Like I always say that, but we did have some interesting stuff here. So just now as we were loading up, there was a pretty big stack at 10, and they hit into 09.5. 3,000 going in there. Now there is some, how do we say, absorption going on here, but something seems to be up. This is kind of odd information. Okay, and here I see from Forex Live, from multiple squawks, China and the US have basically reached a broad consensus on a phase 1 trade deal, Global Times citing experts close to talks. Some differences remain between US and China over how much tariffs should be rolled back. Yeah, so basically they haven't done jack shit, but they can put a headline out that makes everybody sell the treasuries. That's what's going on here, folks. I'm sorry. Not to get all negative on you guys like right from the get-go, but that sounds like bullshit. Good morning, Uzi, and look at that ES overnight range. Oh yeah, so let's come over to the charts. They've been a little bit down in the treasuries, and the E-mini right up, basically to previous day's range from 31.20 essentially. Well, I don't trust this. But we could get some volatile action now, and for the moment at least, the pressure is down. The pressure is down.
How many of you all still think Trump will win in 2020?
Katrina Pearson. I don't care about that. Well, let's pull up the chat. I tried to make a little change to the chat, so the chat might be a little off here. So let's see. Yeah, well, Ozzy's saying it's super narrow. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, they had a big gap up, and now it's narrow. That would be okay. So it does appear that my chat thing is working. So let's see here. Let's open this up. Okay. So the change that I made. Oh, I'm just looking at the profile, not price chart, so I didn't see the gap. Lol. Yeah. Let me show it again. Pretty big gap. Pretty big gap overnight. Basically to this naked point of control that they had at 31.12, they just opened right up at it. Should we sell too? I don't know, man. So here's the thing. Oh, let's turn this on.
Lucas says, should we sell too?
The E-mini might sell. The treasuries may buy up. Well, the treasuries didn't gap though. That's the thing that's really kind of interesting about it, right? The treasuries didn't gap. And there's an iceberg at 0.5. Here's the thing. It's a Monday. So Mondays do tend to be a little bit range bound. Oh, hold on. Let's make sure that we got the full context here. What do we got? Okay, so we have, okay, nothing today. But then tomorrow, goods trades balance, preliminary wholesale inventories, HPI, consumer confidence, new home sales, Wednesday, GDP, Chicago PMI, personal spending, PCE. Like, we got a ton of news later this week on Wednesday. And our Thursday, I guess, is a holiday, really, right? We won't stream on Thursday. And then Friday, I think we'll still stream on Friday. Just because I'm gonna probably, well, actually, I may not. It depends. I haven't found anywhere to like go and wait in line yet, so it depends on that. Okay, so there's a pretty big iceberg there at 08.5. Anyways, let's move it back over to here. Man, this is an interesting setup. Okay, so it's a Monday. There's a lot of news later in the week, so that would favor things being relatively range-bound today. But markets are moving based off of trade war news. And now, the big thing here is that there is something about this particular piece of trade war news.
Lucas says so. Bloomberg's running as well.
Oh, yeah, he is. Well, we found that out like last week, right? But did he make it official? Did he make it official? Oh, and by the way, how bad is Bitcoin today? Well, 7170. So when I watched where it was on Sunday, I was like, ooh.
Lucas says, "Oh, I thought the news were fresh."
No, he. Well, I mean, I think that he made it official. I think
Michael
it's official.
XC says he registered himself last week. At least that's what I think I read on the feed.
Yeah.
Air Cages says hello.
Hello, Air Cages. So, Air Cages, what price did you take your Bitcoin short off at? Or did you really end up taking it off, yeah? I need to like rearrange myself here. I spent so much time this weekend trying to get the camera just right. See, we got like the lights in the background and stuff, so now there's a little bit of color in it. I spent way too much time fiddling around with it, and now I look at myself in the screen and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not in the center. I have this little thing to see. Like, why am I not in the center now? I was perfectly centered when I was messing with it on Sunday. Whatever. Nobody cares. It's fine this way. I did all this stuff. And I made it, you see the little, over my, over the left side, my right shoulder, but the left side, you can see the little.
Air Cages says I took some off at $7,500 and the rest at around $7,200.
There
Missed
we go.
Some of the move.
See the dragon.
XC says I knew Seth would be behind bars sooner or later.
See, you can see the little dragon statue that my wife made for me, because I really love dragons. And I got, on this side, the color. I think that we're going to put another light over here. I think we're going to go and get another USB, or rather, what do we call these? LED light. Too many acronyms these days, guys. How do we deal with it? Yeah, so look at that. If you had tried selling 08.5, that was a total spoof to push it lower. Well, we could have jumped on it at 9 I kind of thought about doing it, but I said, no, I think I should wait and see what they're doing, because the whole thing looks a little fishy. Fishy.
Air Cages says might reshort the bounce.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, you might reshort the bounce. That's interesting, Air Cages. How are you so confident to short it again down here? Like, say you can reshort at 7,400. What would make you confident enough to do that? Fed's Kashkari has come out with a jaw-dropping policy shift, says Zero Hedge. What is that shift exactly? Oh, it says Ranobank. Let's read. My gosh, guys, I am all over the place this morning, aren't I? Well, let's focus down a little bit. So I do want to read this article. Landslide victory for pro-democracy over pro-Beijing candidates. So that whole thing. So this, there was elections in China. Apparently, they have some form of election, and the pro-Beijing people like totally got destroyed. And I'm like, does that really matter? Because I thought China was completely in charge of everything, anyways. I really think that they could buy up the treasuries and that the treasuries could go a lot higher, but I don't see. And I mainly think that because I think that the E-mini might close that gap. But it's super sketch. Like, I think I would need to see something again. Okay. So, meanwhile, blah, 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 get to the point. Kashkari has just come out with a frankly jaw-dropping policy shift, arguing that monetary policy can play the kind of redistributing role once thought to be the preserve of elected officials.
Air Cages says I'm following social media sentiment and looking at price action plus open short to long ratios.
So what do you see on social media sentiment that makes you think it can continue? Open short to long ratios, that's interesting. Man, the CB just like bounced right off of that, didn't it? Okay, so things on my mind. There's that. Igor says he went long some bonds.
Uzi Knesset says easy, the more people buying BTC and talking about how it'll be 100k by 2020, the more you sell lol.
Right. So here's how I tend to look at it. If you see a move down and there seems to be an inordinate number of people concerned about the price drop, then it's probably going to reverse.
Air Cages says pretty much.
So these whales 100% go on Reddit and manipulate sentiment. No question about it. They go and manipulate sentiment and try and get more people to sell so that they can get out. Or so that they can buy or whatever it is. I personally did not see a whole lot of that. Shall we go to the Bitcoin subreddit and check? See what they're doing? Are they freaking out? I'll show you the places that I like to check, okay? Reddit.com/r/Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the controlled subreddit that doesn't allow anti-Bitcoin stuff.
Michael XC says I haven't been following Bitcoin, but it used to be that Bitcoin would slowly appreciate over time and then get whacked back down from one piece of news. Uzi Knesset says all sentiment trading in spot FX markets operates on the same premise. Retailers lose, trade against them. The tricky part is nailing the right price. If you have capital to weather some swing. Air Cages says I like to check Twitter. Uzi Knesset says you can be golden.
Lambo's soon coming, or maybe that nice Tesla pickup moon. Okay, so for the first time in 6 months? This is not the first time in 6 months, is it? Due to China's announcement on Friday that it's stepping up regulatory efforts to crack down on virtual trading. Okay. amused at how amused people are when price hits specific round or interesting numbers, as if the price is determined by some random cosmic force. Yeah, 6K just happens to
Air
be.
Cages says, oh, and I checked traditional support resistance levels. Everything combined, my hit rate has been above average.
Okay. So, just from what I'm seeing here, the market is moving based off of fundamental news, it appears. And so that right there is a really good sign that this could continue, right? Like if China says that they're really going to crack down on things.
Kaka Silva
then...
says, hi Seth.
Hey Kaka, good morning. How are you? But especially China. I mean, listen, China is like responsible for what percentage of Bitcoin? Like it's a ton, you know. And not only that, but this whole thing was kind of pumped up anyways. Like it really should be closer to 1 to 3K, not 7. Like I really felt that the big pump. I guess it was 6 months ago. I can't believe it's really been that long, but according to these guys, it's been 6 months.
Michael XC says, I'm putting all my money in one coin.
Yeah. I hope that it's that you're about to say that it's garlic coin that you put all of your money into, right? Well, anyways, they could just continue to go. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm not like these guys don't look panicked or anything. Like one person, nice. See, Lambo soon. Okay. So the Bitcoin subreddit doesn't seem all that upset. So I don't think that this is sentiment manipulation like it was last
Michael
time.
XC says, nah, I read a Gould article about the OneCoin scam over the weekend.
Oh, I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to look into that. Okay, so there was a pretty good tick up at 11. Which kind of brings us right to where we were. Potential turn down spot, but they might try and use that against us and just push it higher. Well, I might take
Michael
a sim
XC
trade.
says billions of dollars scammed.
Man, billions. Wow.
Air Cages says BTC could go to $10 tomorrow. Reddit would still be bullish.
Well, when we had, oh man, it's been, this chart doesn't even really show it anymore. Okay. When we were up here and we had this one, was it this one? Yeah. It was like when we were down and around here. The Reddit was like super freaked out.
Uzi Knesset says Jesus buys his lotteries with Bitcoin.
There you go. They were really freaked out, and everybody's like, why is it going down? And I lost so much money and all this stuff. And I was like, sentiment manipulation. They're going to buy it again. They bought it. But then, of course, they gave it up because there's nothing to maintain that. I think that what happened was some fund of some sort, some whale operation went in and got loaned money by Tether and bought it up, and now they're realizing that it didn't work, that it's not working out, and they're bailing, and they're trying to finagle their way out of it. But what are you gonna do? Nobody's buying it. There's not public participation. Is that the word? In Bitcoin. And so it's, yeah. Let's move this just a tad. That's better. It was bothering me. Now I'm still not centered, but whatever.
Michael XC says a few years ago people were saying Tether was a scam, not backed by anything. Did it turn out to be true?
Well,
Kaka Silva says I know some people that got scammed by OneCoin pyramid scheme.
So there is a lot of information that has come out from court cases. It does not look very good for Tether, but for the moment, it is still just in court. And they are just delaying and making it take as long as possible. It's just ridiculous. I was watching this, man. So, like, the things that you can do in court to delay things, it's ridiculous. So, I was watching this documentary yesterday on Netflix. It's a Netflix documentary, and it's kind of a psychology thing. I watched it as a psychology thing, and it was about Burkham. This is the guy that invented, well, not invented, but like he popularized hot yoga. I don't know. Maybe he added the hot part. I don't know. But hot yoga, okay? And this guy, he would run these training seminars, $10,000 to learn how to become a hot yoga instructor, right? And he would get like 500 people. Can you believe that? So from one conference, he'd make $5 million. Probably not net, but you know, like, isn't that crazy? And anyways, well, it turned out that this guy was like a big sexual predator, raped a bunch of women, and was committing sexual harassment. He was racist. It was just like all this crazy stuff. And people in the community just kind of, because their livelihood was tied up in it, just kind of like overlooked it. So eventually, some women started suing him and accusing him of rape and everything. And so they do a deposition, and he would just delay and delay and delay, you know. And then finally, they got him to sit down for a deposition, and they were really, oh man, like watching it is like crazy. Like he just seems like a lunatic. I mean, he's almost certainly a psychopath. And then they finally did get him into court and everything. And he lost in court big time. I mean, big time. And so he fled the country. And he had a sham divorce where all of the money went to his wife. So we got to keep all of the money. It's just disgusting. But it was really interesting. I was like, I had no clue that's what caused. That's where Burkham yoga came from, was from a psychopath. In fact, after watching that documentary, if it's hot yoga, that sounds cool. But like Burkham yoga, I wouldn't do it. Because it still supports that guy and his name. So yeah, it was a good documentary. You can watch it. Anyways, so Bitfinex and Tether are stalling and doing everything that they can to prevent anything from ever coming of this court case. It's just absolutely insane to me. Like, okay.
Papa Silva says, Seth, do you think BTC can go to 2K?
Totally possible. Absolutely. My indicator right now says 3, but is like the lower bound. But by the time we get down there, you know, we'll probably be back to regular levels of activity. Right? Like the blockchain has had an unusually high amount of activity because of the pump earlier in the year. When the pump comes out, that might come down, and then we might be able to make it down to 1K. Totally possible. Anyways, it's just crazy to me, all these people saying, well, Bitfinex is backed and eventually they're going to prove it and they're doing an audit and all of these sorts of things. And then we get to the court case and it's like they're doing absolutely everything that they can to avoid, you know, having to reveal, right? So that right there, to me, is proof enough that they're doing something shady. You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy to me that anybody can see that and be like, oh, everything's fine. So it could get ugly in Bitcoin, especially since it appears that they've just continued to try and pump it up despite a complete loss of public interest. So when it starts dropping, it could do so really, really hard because there might be some really big people trying to desperately get out. You know what I mean? Something that I think is a little scary to think about with it is that, say you're short. Where are you short? If you're short, what happens if you're short on Bitfinex and Bitfinex goes under? You have this huge winner. You won't be able to get your money. Maybe even BitMEX. Because there's a lot of... BitMEX seems to be wrapped up in this too. So it's a little crazy. Well, anyways. So guys, I need you guys to test something for me today. So I made a little change to the robot so that if you do a super chat, then the super chat should get appended to my news file, and you should see the super chat down at the bottom of the screen. And then if I get that working, then I'm going to make a light screen, what do we call it? A light marquee. I'm going to put it behind us over here. Maybe we'll put it right there. We could put it right there. What do you think about that? We could put it right there. And then when you do a super chat, so like $1 super chat, then you can post your message on the sign. Because right now, well, before we added this feature, I didn't think that there was really a whole lot of a reason to do it.
Kaka Silva says good idea.
But now there is. So we have to wait for somebody to do a super chat. Don't all do it all at once, right? We only need one. Only need one at a time. And it should be something hilarious. It should be something, like maybe, make me obviously don't put anything like against YouTube's terms of service. If it's against YouTube's terms of service, then I'll delete it, of course. But maybe put something, kind of funny or embarrassing down in the super chat. It would be fun. So they did tick down. I can see quite a bit trying to push back into 10.5 after that small little push. But there's a pretty big iceberg there holding it, and it's been just stuck there for a long time. So it's a little difficult to make out what's truly going on here. Also, that snap back up might have just been some flipping, like they went short, they got out, everybody bailed. I don't know. But the whole thing is kind of messed up. Oh yes, did you read this from Goldman?
Michael XC says China removes Bitcoin mining from unwanted industries list.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, but that's not necessarily good for Bitcoin. You know what, the thing that's really irking me this past week or so is that I'll read a headline, and it seems to me that the headlines aren't really what they mean. Like it's like somebody has an agenda and something happened, and so they say, well, I could probably get the markets to move off of this, so I'll take this one little part and I'll mention this one little part and then not give the full analysis of it, and people will buy it. So like China removes Bitcoin mining from unwanted industries list, but they are going to crack down on exchanges. Why? Because China is going to create their own cryptocurrency and then prevent people from using anything else. Because people are removing money from China with Bitcoin and they don't like it. And they're going to stop it. That's what's happening here, as far as I can tell. And it's been confirmed that they are making their own coin, right? So is that good for Bitcoin? That they're still allowing mining? Well, because they want all of those miners to move over to mining China coin. Or Shitcoin. Should we call it Shitcoin?
Uzi Knesset says CCP knows the enslavement value of digital currency.
Ding, 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 ding. Listen, man, with a digital currency, you can look at everything. Seriously. In today's economy in the United States, I could pay cash for something. Okay. I bought another tripod because I don't want to move this tripod that I have here on my desk. It was really hard for me to get that spot. Okay. So I went and I bought another tripod, and I bought it at a secondhand store for $2, and I spent cash, right? The government doesn't know about that transaction, or they wouldn't have known about that transaction if I hadn't have said anything about it on stream. Okay. But they can't track that. They don't know where that came from. Okay. But if everybody's using Shitcoin, then they can track every teeny tiny little transaction, and they can see who gave money and who it went to. Now, of course, in cryptocurrencies, there are ways to get around that to have full transparency, but of course, we know that Shitcoin will not have that, right? Yep, it's total control. Total control. Okay, so another tick down. They might tick down to the bottom, and then we kind of have to see, are they going to push it down, like break the bottom of the range? Because I thought maybe they would try and break the bottom of the range, but
Uzi Knesset says digital currency will, and to some degree already is, become very popular with authoritarian regimes.
yeah.
Air Cages says expecting bounce to $8,900.
You think it'll get all the way up to 8,900, huh? Well, we'll see. The thing is that at the moment, because I don't necessarily see sentiment manipulation, if I had seen sentiment manipulation, then I would definitely be looking to see something pop up here. But because this seems to be more fundamentally based, you're gonna have some pretty heavy downside pressure, but you could still see some pretty wild swings up. So it's really hard for me to determine. I feel like I'm missing something, guys. Let us check our notes. I have some notes. I don't really like taking a lot of trades on Mondays, so to me it's kind of like should try and avoid it, you know. No, I don't have. There's a couple of other things that we can talk about, but earlier it was like, oh, I want to talk about this and this and this and this and this, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, what were we talking about? What was it that we did? I think maybe we just covered them all. Oh yeah, we'll pull this up. By the way, for Monday,
Uzi Knesset says apparently pro-democracy peeps own the hell out of HK elections.
yes, right. So we kind of did mention that briefly, but we didn't really go into it. So that to me is like, I don't understand. I thought that anybody that was like really big pro-democracy basically got barred from running for anything. So is that headline really mean what we think it does? Does that really have an effect on anything in Hong Kong? I mean, China's still in charge. So I'm a little confused about what that means. You know? By the way, 18 people watching. Go ahead and hit that like button. We really appreciate it. Really helps the stream out. Stream has been doing really well lately because we've been getting so many likes on the videos. So keep it up, guys. It's great. I was kind of comparing our channel to some of the other channels. There's a lot of channels. You know, you guys have like more engagement than channels with like 10,000 subscribers. I'm not even kidding. It's so great. But you know, it's because we have a really good channel here, and you guys actually trade, and you're actually good at trading. And I think most of these other guys are kind of just losing
Air
money.
Cages says all thanks to
Could
me.
be wrong, but
You're welcome.
it's all
Uzi
thanks to Air
Knesset
Cages.
says I
Yes.
dunno, I'm a cynic, so, in all honesty, the future is a communist dystopia for all of us, lol. I just hope I'm dead before it happens.
Well, I don't know. So you're probably, I'm guessing that you're feeling a little bit down about this veteran that had a standoff this weekend, yeah? Excuse me. So, not to get too deep into it, and the reason why I don't want to get too deep into it is because the information out there
Uzi
seems to be
Knesset says
unreliable.
that story was BS.
That story was BS? Yeah, I don't know. So, like, the larger media doesn't seem to be reporting on it, and the outlets that I do see reporting on it are not giving out reliable reporting. Like, there are things that don't make sense about their stories, or, you know, they just don't actually confirm anything.
RZH says morning. Uzi
Yeah.
Knesset says the guy was being picked up on a domestic violence warrant.
Yeah, well, so the way I heard the story was he told a friend that he had a high capacity magazine, but he didn't actually have guns. And so the police came over and said, well, we need to search your home. And if you don't, then we'll take your kids away through Child Protective Services, is what they told the wife. So the wife let the police in, and then they went to go and arrest the guy, I guess. And they went to go and arrest him with like an armored vehicle and all of this stuff, even though he didn't have a gun. And so, of course, he was a little freaked out and afraid that he was going to get killed. And they had like a 6-hour standoff or something before he came out and let himself be arrested or whatever. And then they arrested him and they didn't file any charges.
Uzi Knesset says an easy way to tell a story is bullshit is by the time it takes to start a GoFundMe. His was up instantly and hit 10K in like an hour.
Oh yeah, so that's the other important note about that story was that he streamed the whole thing on Instagram, and he got this huge social media following all of a sudden. And yeah, he set up a GoFundMe. I think that maybe there is some. Well, I mean, look, stuff happened. What happened, and that alone, I think, is cause for some concern about how law enforcement handled it. But you're probably right, Uzi. Probably not somebody you want to hook your wagon to, huh? He might be suspect. And I wonder if the allegations of domestic violence are warranted or not. But I tell you what, the guys on the Donald and the right were sure upset about it. I mean, they were already hankering to be upset about.
Uzi Knesset says Christine Blasey Ford 3 GoFundMes and like 3 million in the time it took to confirm Kavanaugh. Whistleblower has a GoFundMe too. Put up right after impeachment hearings began.
Does he? Well, people will set them up. Why don't I you know what? It's just this GoFundMe stuff. Man, I remember there was this one guy. And they set up a GoFundMe for him on Wall Street Bets. I think that they killed it and it didn't get very far. But he was gonna use it to bet on some options. And it kind of irked me. I was like, why don't you give me a GoFundMe?
Uzi Knesset says I remember this lol.
I will lose it slower. You know? Like, give it to somebody that'll be responsible with it or something. Or at least would be able to give you maximum entertainment value. Like, here's the thing. Like that kid, the one that did the infinite leverage, the first one to do the infinite leverage, what was his name? Control the Narrative? Was that his name? Control the Narrative? Okay. The most boring person that you possibly could have had do it. I mean, look, it's like a video. He's recording it on his phone. So he doesn't even have a great streaming setup. Listen, you know what? If you don't have a great streaming setup, that's okay. You should stream with what you have. But I'm just saying, if you're going to start a GoFundMe, we should do it with somebody that will give us the best viewing experience, right? And then he loses all this money, and what does he do? He just kind of sits there and stares at it. It wasn't an entertaining. Listen, if I was going to lose $100,000 live on stream, I would at least try and make it entertaining. It would maybe actually be a little cringy to watch, but I would at least say something, right? Man, nobody don't set up a GoFundMe for me, but I did kind of feel a little jealous. I was like, why don't they do that for me? But whatever. But you're right. Them setting up a GoFundMe right away is kind of a little bit of a warning sign. Although, you know what? Like, he didn't necessarily set it up, so whatever. It does kind of seem like a little bit too convenient of a story, right? Like, he didn't actually have a real firearm and all this stuff. Are they going to move up again? False breakout and higher, perhaps? Well, they've been in this area since. When did they get here? 26? Oh, so about the last 30 minutes they've been in this range. So some stops at 12.5. Some iceberging at 12. Maybe this was a buy. It's possible. That was a buy. A little tepid. What about on here? No. I don't think I can really take it. A little suspicious of action. Igor says he is adding to his long on bonds. Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. By the way, oh, you know what? Okay, I know what it was that I needed to check. It was make sure you're liked and subscribed so that when you come over here, oh, that's not the one that I wanted. I want it over here. We're talking about the notifications. So here, I'm liked and subscribed, and I hit the bell icon, and look, I get notifications. Speculator Seth is live. So it does work. I guess you need to enable browser notifications though for it to like notify you if you're not on the website. And you can do that by going into settings, and you have to go into like, I think it's privacy.
Uzi Knesset says I'm reading this article about shy Trump voters and how they skew the polls. Screw that, I lie to pollsters so I don't get assaulted or have my property vandalized, lol.
Privacy and security. And then in here, site settings, notifications, right? And then you could just add YouTube as here, give it, I have them blocked, but if I unblocked it, then it would have sent me a browser notification. So for those of you that were asking about the notifications, that's the way to do it.
Michael XC says yeah, but that YouTube notification on the page is what I was telling you before was unreliable. You can't just sit on a YouTube page and wait. If you reload it, then it will show.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Michael. Yeah, but if you come in here and you turn on notifications and you change this to allow, then it will alert you even if you're not connected. Or not on the website, rather. Okay. They're still buying it. Igor, who is a very good large trader, seems to be very bullish here, and he actually said that he added on to some of his longs in ZB. There is a big number up there at 30. Not as big as the one at 16. There might be two sides to this, but it looks like the bulls are going to try and push it up. I don't know. Still a little scary to me.
Michael XC says the pronunciation is close to Igor.
All right.
Michael XC
Igor?
says closer.
I'm probably pronouncing it that way because I remember back on the forum that I used to post on back in the 2000s, there was a poster, which she was a girl. Her name was Igor Jaime.
Uzi Knesset says sellers definitely not getting their money's worth in ZB right now. Maybe enough puke fuel to push through that 30.
Well, how much actually sold through all of that in the 10-year? Let's see. 18,000 bought, 14,000 sold. 10% buying. Now in this one, 20% buying. So sellers really aren't coming in. Well, there is some selling at 12.5, of course. Now I'm getting another bit of a spike in the treasuries, but on a minute basis, does it matter? Actually, it says maybe it does. Because that spike up did, and then this one. So activity
Uzi
is...
Knesset says in ZB they were at 23/24.
So they're increasing as they move up. Bloomberg says Trump's Republican supporters may be less committed than they seem. That sounds like a suppression story to me. How do you know? Let's see if Bloomberg is full of crap. Keep an eye on this at 13. See, he's making it weak, but then they're not right away hitting into it, and you got this spot in ZB that might not go. You know, okay. So he took it, no big deal. They didn't even hit back. Really? Wow. It doesn't look like there's very many sellers. What about in the 5-year? Well, in the 5-year, it's a little bit more even. Interesting. Anyways, I'm browsing through this story here. Remember that conservative Republicans stuck with Richard Nixon in 1974 right up until they didn't. So that's your argument, dude? I didn't follow Nixon? Suppression story. Yep. China has reiterated its tough stance on cryptocurrencies, pushing pressure on the price of Bitcoin. Here's what we're watching in the markets today. Wall Street Journal. And now 13 is looking weak and they're iceberging on it. What? I'm buying this. The issue I have with this, there's like no sellers. But how many people can go along this thing, you know? Well, they did get some selling there, in fact, didn't they? I'm a little too concerned about the possibility of it turning down here. Okay, so they're trying to hit into 13.5, and now the robots are fighting them. I'm having digestive issues again today. Burp. 51.33 at 13. Holding. ZB not really doing much of anything interesting. I would have thought that we would have seen something there, and it's not happening. Well, I guess if we really wanted to go long, we would have gotten filled at 13. Could get in there. It wouldn't have been a bad hold. It's a decent amount of selling coming in for sure.
Gary Rich says, are you guys trading or playing Yahtzee?
Playing Yahtzee? Well, we're definitely not playing Yahtzee. There may be some question as to whether what we're doing is trading. Still kind of, I'm still not sure I can read this. It looks like they're just pushing it up and pushing it up, and you're not getting like a clear overextension signal. They just want to buy it, but that means I might not get a good spot, or if I do get a good spot, that well, I guess this one would have been a good spot, but you know, it might come back a little bit and just be quiet and not tell you anything. Fed's 42-day repo 2 times oversubscribed and scramble for year-end liquidity. Huh. So how much went through? How much went through here?
RZH says how are you doing Uzi?
Dealers submitted 50 billion in bids.
Uzi Knesset says I'm doing great grinning face with big eyes how are you?
So it was 2 times oversubscribed, but the amount was not any more than what it's been. And the 5 years still kind of...
Uzi Knesset says boom, bye bye 30 ZB.
Bye-bye 30. I did think that that take at 13.5 looked really good, but then, I mean, it ticked down again. I don't know. What about the E-mini? The E-mini's not doing much of anything. Uzi
Knesset says they chomped up all those offers.
I'm thinking maybe I should just sell the E-mini here. I don't know what price to do it at, but we could.
RZH says smiling face with smiling eyes same here.
It's still iceberging at 13. Well, now you're getting an actionable spike. Do we really want to reverse it, though? Interesting. I pulled that off and it increased.
Gary Rich says Jesus Christ.
Are you guys trying to sell with me here? Huh? At 31.12.50? I pulled it off and somebody stacks 10 on it. 20. Somebody stacked 20 on it. So I can see them putting pressure on it now, trying to push it through. And the ZB did. Oh wait, what's wrong? Why am I? Oh, because the session. That's where the session started. But I can still see room.
They ready to stack they nuts all over you lol.
Yeah. I can see a room in the ZB to go to like 04 was the last swing. Yeah, I don't know about this, guys. I could maybe get like a little bit here. Oh, I can't put a volume stop there. Like this.
Lucas says the S is not even moving lol.
Okay, first time that they've put an ask on there. I really think we should have bought at 10.5. That's kind of the thing, is the rest of this has just kind of been like...
RZH says
You're
I
too
think we're
late.
going high in ZN. I'm really bullish on today.
You think so, huh?
Ace Trade says morning.
Oh, there's Ace. I was just thinking about selling it. Selling the E-mini, Ace. But then I stacked it and somebody... I put an order on and then people were stacking on top of it. Okay, well, the E-mini did tick into that 14.5. Let's reset the DOM here. Is there... Oh, there's some big orders up above us.
Gary Rich says flip a coin.
Flip a coin. That big one has been
Ace
there for a
Trade says
while.
little choppy right now.
It's a little choppy right now. Yeah. Well, I was putting it at 31,
Uzi
20,
Knesset
50.
says 16 ticks up on the 820 open.
It's been a good uptrend, hasn't it? I mean, when we saw that move down like that 8,000 absorbed at 08.5, I remember thinking, well, it's kind of fishy. Okay, let's see what it does. Maybe they will. And then it just never stopped.
Ace Trade says short signal 3120.00, but what the heck, I wouldn't take that.
You wouldn't take that? 7:13. The time isn't very good, is it? Maybe they're going to wait longer. You can see the treasuries itching to go, though. I don't know. You're saying it's pretty choppy, but it's been. I think that choppy isn't the right descriptor. I think that range bound. The E-mini is incredibly range bound. And so the whole thing is like they gapped up, and then it's just tight range. And meanwhile, the treasuries are buying up. Treasuries are buying up quite hard. Oh, New York Fed offers first year on repo adds 93 billion in cash. Okay. And tick down there in the E-mini.
Gary Rich says,
Okay.
Did you see the charts I posted in Discord?
I'm not sure which channel did you post them in. Are these the metals ones? No. I see Harley King doing stuff though.
Gary Rich says interest rates.
Oh, okay. And interest rates. Oh, these ones that you posted earlier overnight. Balance sheet. Policy error, yeah. Also, it sounds like you're concerned that the repo rate means that the only reason the E-mini is going up is because they're pumping liquidity into the system, right? The thing though is that they're not necessarily doing that. You know, it's not just giving banks like money just to buy things with, right? Like it rolls over at the end of the day.
Gary Rich says yes.
So I remember we were talking about that the other day, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is the way, you know?
Ace Trade says okay, got filled 3,119.75, but going to keep a tight stop on it.
Oh. Just as you said that, Ace, that the treasuries tried selling and the buyers pushed back at 14.5. Pulled, added a 14.5, and then pulled it. It might give me a look here. Let's see. Oh.
Gary Rich says it's Treasury buying by the primary dealers, foreign banks buy from them. Fed swap lines are too expensive. Lucas says morning ace.
Okay. Interesting that I was at that spot in the queue. Because it looked like I was more like 700 in queue and I was actually at the front.
Lucas says I don't quite have a bias. Session started by them selling, now pressing continuously higher.
Yeah, and look, they're sweeping it. So it only took 13.35 to take 15, even though there was a level break set up. Now they're pulling at 15.5. Ten minutes to the equities open. Well, they were getting an okay take, but then it's flipped around very easily here. Some more market selling coming into the 5-year, and they're just absorbing it again. And the buying trickle into 15 just kind of comes in. Okay, that time it fought a little bit, but the sellers lost. Oh, okay, and he stacks at 15. Oh my gosh. Are they going to pull 15 half? Sure looks like it could do something. They certainly caught somebody there on that one.
Ace Trade says I think it will go lower once it breaks through 3,119.50. The question is, will it be before opening?
Right. Well, I think that the E-mini traders probably have no intention of moving it until the open, but the Treasury traders might force their hand. Okay.
Lucas says time frame is always a question he.
So they took 15 half. So a lot of orders came into it, but somebody was there to take profits. Oh, I forgot. I needed to download. Somebody sent me this toy that allows me to rename the windows. I should go back and find that. Hmm. $4,015. Going back to what Rich was talking about, um, if we're getting like a rush for liquidity, then it would definitely make sense for the treasuries to be moving up, right? It means that there's not enough treasuries out there for everybody. So this could really move up. And then when you add on top of that, the possibility of bad trade war news coming out at any moment, decent, much more selling here at 15 than we've seen anywhere else, though. In fact, it's been quite a bit of selling here. Think some more buyers will come in to hit 15.5. I think that was a lot of robots that probably just went in there. They might have to puke. Maybe they will win. The 5-year did tick down there. Nobody's putting anything up. Seen that in the 5-year a lot lately, haven't we? Okay, now some people hitting into 15.5 again.
Uzi Knesset says next target up in ZB is 07 grinning face with big eyes if she goes.
When you look at it on the chart, in the 30-minute chart, this move up looks really significant. I still feel, I guess maybe it's just because it's Monday, but I still feel really skeptical about it. Okay. So at the moment, this no longer looks to me like somebody's taking profits at 15.5. This just looks to me like the robots hitting on the weak side.
Gary Rich says December 16th is tax receipts. Will the Fed cut? Repo is okay. I think the bond trees guys think differently due to softer economic data. Popularity matters says bored with the market so far. Read for the open. Lucas says I am looking at those 185 but come on, it's no news Monday, Thanksgiving week, why would it go there? Ace Trade says asterisk tightens seatbelt, cinches helmet up.
Well, so first of all, then just said that popularity matters says that he's bored with the markets because the treasuries are doing some super crazy strong uptrend. So let's just put that out there at first, okay? Now, why would we move on a Monday? Well, there is a lot of stuff coming later in the week that they might want to prepare themselves for. One. And two, it really does appear that the banks need more liquidity. That there's just not enough cash out there for them to do everything that they have to do at the end of the year. Okay, slow
Popularity matters says yeah, I turned on and saw it move 3 ticks in 15 minutes.
Right? It's pretty. So I would suspect. Why would I say I suspect? The trade is you short the E-mini. Okay, the trade is that they're buying up the treasuries and they're going to turn around and they're going to short the E-mini. They might not be related, because if this is buying because of a shortage of liquidity in the treasury markets, then that should just be relatively
Lucas says
isolated
all
to
this
this.
was true any other day of the previous week. I believe we just don't know.
Yeah, but now the timing is kind of like they really have to start looking at it. Okay, the 30-year tried to dig up there, but the other two didn't do it. And then over here in the E-mini, you have this gap
Gary
up that
Rich
doesn't
says,
make
what
sense.
are you talking about with bank liquidity? They have tons of reserves due to Basel III.
Well, no. So
Popularity Matters says, I would rather let the action tell me versus guess at it. If it moves, we will see it in the DOM.
sure.
Ace Trades says, plus all my cash just sitting there in the vault.
So when I say there's a shortage, what I mean is Basel requires them to have a certain amount of money to back up their transactions, right? And so much stuff is coming in at the end of the year. People have to pay taxes and all of these sorts of things that the banks aren't the amount that they're holding right now for Basel III. They need more to stay within the parameters, right? And that's why we're seeing this now when we wouldn't see it in the past. It's because the Basel requirements are higher. The amount of cash that the banks need is higher, and they haven't realized this yet. Well, I guess they're realizing it now, right? But the basic gist of it is that they need treasuries to back their transactions. They don't have enough reserves. They have tons of treasury reserves on their books, and yet their repo market is weak. So that says that somebody out there doesn't have enough. And apparently, everybody seems to think that they're going to need more. That could be a really good reason for the kind of trend up that we're seeing. Because, we've seen, like, look at this. They sold 7,600 into it. They've now sold almost 3,000 into 15.5. The buyers have not given up an inch. That is somebody that really wants to buy. I mean, that's that's too much volume for it to just be like a trick, They don't want to loan it out even when they can kill it on an arbitration basis. Yeah, totally. Because it's too valuable to them. Okay. So then on the split side in the E-mini, we had this move up, this gap up, presumably on trade war news. Piece of trade war news that, again, seems completely suspect and doesn't change the situation at all. They don't agree. I mean, the headline in that story should be U.S. and China still can't agree on whether tariffs should be rolled back. China wants the tariffs to be rolled back as part of a phase one deal, and the United States says, no, you have to actually give us something in order to get tariffs taken off. So the trade deal is just as unlikely as it was when I said it was unlikely on Friday. And they're just moving on that one headline. So that's what the gap up was. The E-mini could try and push to fill that gap. RK just says, cool trade. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that 16 is starting to give up now. So I've said they haven't given up an inch, but now maybe they are. But I mean, it was like a free look, so. Now the E-mini had a little bit of buying there on the open.
Gary Rich says the tariffs won't matter, it won't save China.
Okay, that's an interesting comment.
Lucas says, aren't those fundamental stuff that shouldn't affect much what happens over a period of 6 hours?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it kind of sets the stage for the environment, right? But the thing that matters over the past 6 hours is that we've seen a good 10, 20,000 contracts net buying in the 10-year within the first hour. Right? So it's not like we're not seeing stuff in the 10-year that doesn't support that, right? It's kind of like here's a situation, and then you're seeing some really aggressive buying. I think that that's a really good candidate for why they're buying so aggressively. I suppose another candidate for why they're buying so aggressively is that somebody...
Gary Rich says even if the December 12th tariffs come off, there's still $250 billion set.
Yeah.
China is stalling. Lucas says you would have to look at open interest for the day.
Yeah, you would. But another reason could be that somebody thinks they know about a headline that's about to come out. That could be another answer. All I know is that buy that we've had, really starting from when we were at 08, is a pretty strong move. That's not
Live
just...
Action says could be one guy in the world.
Yeah.
Eric Cages says money, gimme, nom, nom, nom.
That somebody is buying it for a reason. That was not just noise. Yeah. Let's put it like that. That was not just noise. So then we have to start thinking, well, what might be some of the reasons that they might be doing it?
Popularity Matters says just made my first $11. Gary
Okay.
Rich says another one to watch is China next print might show 5.8 GDP. That prints we sell selling.
The level 2 changes very quickly, and we're starting to see some spreaders buying into 15.5. Strong bid at 15.5. 16 not pulling away, but man, that's and the E-mini starting to turn.
Eric Cages says a mini ripping up, bonds holding highs. WTF. Ace Trade says at Popularity Matters nice job, that is $11 you didn't have when you woke up.
Are you still in, Ace? No, you would have gotten out, right? This
Live
still
Action
looks like
says
a
I
short
see
to me.
Singapore enforcing their first fake news law.
That's interesting. Ooh, Singapore. Singapore looks like an interesting place, but it kind of scares me, to be honest. Like, I'd be scared to live there. I think it would be fun, but I'm kind of scared to live there. This in the E-mini looks like a short to me. Like maybe if you could
Ace
get...
Trade says out with a small loss.
You got out with a small loss. Like if we could get like 123 even or something like that.
Popularity Matters says I know PPL who live there and they love it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting to me about Singapore is that it seems to me that the reason the laws are so draconian is because they're so conservative. And it's not necessarily because they have like some crazy authoritarian regime there or anything like that. So it's kind of a different thing. It's kind of more like, if you're okay with that
Popularity
lifestyle.
Matters says Ace $11 is coffee and taco money, most important money to me. Gary Rich says Singapore is fine. Taiwan is China's next crown jewel to take over.
I think they want... Yeah, that scares me too, that they would try and attack Taiwan. Like, okay, so some iceberging at 15.5. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Ace Trade says at Popularity Matters if you are happy, I'm tickled pink. Popularity Matters says lol. Live Action says can you imagine if they had that law here in the States? Lucas says good
that
lord
would be
lol.
nuts. That'd be nuts. Okay, I'm seeing too much distribution and behavior that does not quite fit at 15.5. The E-mini does appear that it might be turning around, but it
Lucas says 26K at 155, 878 at 160.
Yeah.
Michael XC says everything's fine until you spit gum on the sidewalk.
They're still kind of pressuring it up, but the 5 year's not. 30 years not.
Gary Rich says at popularity 11 fiat gets you 2 BK meals for 10 and enough for a cookie. Congrats.
Oh yeah, it's very expensive there, isn't it?
Popularity Matters says I remember when that American bratty kid got canned in Singapore for vandalism. He deserved it. Live Action says I heard Singapore is tops on list of quality of life nations.
Okay, there was some odd behavior there in the level 2. That one didn't make sense. It's starting to take a lot, even though the E-mini's not moving. Okay, so they hit it, and the
Air
E-mini
Cages
bought up
says
a
anyone
tick.
remember Sexcoin?
What? The E-mini bought
Live
the
Action
Treasury
says I was
sold,
hoping
but
to
they
see
hold it.
TT ladder today.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, but then they started
Lucas
doing
says nope,
stuff.
only garlic.
Shoot. Hit me, please. Hit me.
Air Cages says garlic has nothing on sex.
This is not good, guys. Okay, there's a little bit of buying in the 5-year. So what concerns me is that the E-mini did buy up a tick eventually, and it just looks like the treasuries are just completely bailing.
Gary Rich says Seth, do you know anything about Bitcoin system app?
That doesn't sound familiar to me.
Lucas says we are having you trade on TT this week, Seth? Ace
No,
Trade
no,
says
no,
I
no,
went
no.
long 3,123.00 out of boredom, no reason.
We have TT
Air
installed.
Cages says let my man Seth out now.
We have TT installed, and we are going to toy with it, but I'm not going to. But it's delayed, first of all. So it's kind of like we can just toy around with it and look at the features and stuff. We can't really do a whole lot with it. And if something's happening, we want to be here in the treasuries. We want to be over here in Jigsaw, where we're familiar with it. So, but the goal is just to become more familiar with TT so that when people come in and ask questions about it, we're a little bit more experienced and can say,
Popularity Matters says you can trade delayed data.
Okay, let me out. Finally. That when that sort of a thing starts to happen, that makes me super nervous. Because you get into that situation where there's just literally no sellers or no buyers to get you out. And then
Gary Rich says, Seth, how long did TT give you a demo for?
I think it's a week. So let's open it up, shall
Air
we?
Cages says, good job. 1 tick a day keeps the day job away.
Well, I
Popularity
really...
Matters says TT demo is endless.
Is it endless? Okay, so...
Michael XC says everyone's upset at the new cloud TT platform.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't trade it on the cloud, that's for sure.
Michael XC says TT is trying to ditch their Windows platform.
So this one, right? The one that
Popularity
I'm
Matters
looking
says
at?
I had a TT demo that lasted over 5 years.
Oh.
Live Action says that's ridiculous at the price they charge and supposedly the go-to for top firms, and they can't compete with live demo data.
So
Air Cages says trade 20 lots, get 1 tick per day.
Oh, there
You're
it is.
good.
Change instrument. We want ZN. ZN. December. Oh, you know what else could be going on? Is the roll. Didn't even totally space that. Just double check here. What was my... Oh, really? So they did. I got at 14 and they've already ticked back up and they're ticking into 15. That sucks. Well, I still think that was, I think that when they were ticking into the 15 half the first time, I should have taken it. Like, I wish I had gotten the 3 because there's just a little bit too much stacking there. And the E-mini just didn't quite immediately do what we wanted it to do. So that's just kind of like the trade might still work, but the time frame and everything that we're trying to do it on is not cooperating. Okay, so now can I change this one?
Air Cages says the situation was different from now. Different read.
Yeah.
Popularity Matters says Air John Grady talked about a 1 tick per day trader at a firm he was in. The managers were mad at the guy. Grady thought they should just give him more size.
Yeah. But come on, 1 tick is listen. I want to minimize this for a second so that we can see this. Okay. There are some real challenges with 1 tick trading. Okay. There are some real challenges with 1 tick trading that aren't necessarily immediately apparent. All right. And so you can have a guy that he's taking a 1 ticker and you give him more size and it'll completely fall apart. Right? You don't know. And the problem with an edge like that is that if you add size and then adding the size ruins the edge, then you take the size off, the edge don't come back. You get what I mean? So maybe they knew something. Maybe they were doing something. Blah. Maybe they were doing the right thing. Maybe they weren't. I mean, that's like beyond my expertise. I'm merely saying.
Popularity Matters says you don't know unless you try. But he was a bond trader. He could use more size.
Sure. And the question kind of would then at that point would be how much size were they giving him?
Michael XC says that is 1 tick years ago, not now.
Yeah. But you just got to remember that the issue with the 1 ticker is what is your percentage and what is your slippage. Because if you're hitting 80%,
Lucas says 1 tick trader.
If you're hitting 80%, but then you're getting 3 ticks of
Ace Trade
slippage
says
on
I
your
could use
losers.
more size. Wait, what are we talking about?
You hit 8% and then you take 3 ticks
Air
of slippage
Cages
on your
says
losers.
trade big or go home.
It's not going
Live
to be
Action says I
profitable.
heard some prop firms want new traders to start practice capturing 1 tick on ladders alone, no charts. Popularity Matters says he wasn't a real scalper, so we can't frame it as 1 tick scalping.
Is that it? Was that a joke?
Lucas says I trade small from home. Where do I go?
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing 1 tick scalping, but I don't understand why a firm would hire people to do that. There's just too much edge in that area that's up to
Gary
the
Rich
robots.
says 1 tick is very difficult, but I bet they had built around those levels while arb them.
Yeah. But anyways, like even with your standard, like if it's like 2 to 1, like let's say you're risking 2 to
Air
get 1.
Cages says I hear Top Step Trader is amazing for newbies.
Nah. You know what? I didn't make a video this
RCH
week.
says I hope you caught the move on Suzy. I'm not sure if you trade it.
Listen, so I didn't make a video this week. I have like 6 videos I want to make, and I'm like, well, it would be better the beginning of the year. You know, this time of year, we don't get as many viewers. We get way more viewers in January, February, March. So I would rather put them out then. So I didn't record one this weekend. I messed with my camera, and we got, the lights and the tripod and stuff like that. But I was going to make another video about the Top Step Trader Combine, right? Because that is by far the most successful video on our channel, and the situation has changed. And it has gone from the point when it was like, well, okay, like, I don't know if the Combine is for me anymore, but here's the things that would determine whether it is for you or whether it's not. But now under the current situation, I have to say that it is a waste. It is an absolute waste. You just put that money in and trade micro futures. Just take that money and trade micro futures, man. Because for the price that they're charging you for a combine, even 1 month, you could go and open an account and trade micro futures. And the reason that I was thinking about this was, I'm starting to get recommendations in my feed for other people's channels. Look at that. Should have held it, guys. It is, the level 2 is low though, so I'm just gonna kind of sit here. Anyways, I'm getting recommendations for other channels, so I was looking at another person's channel. They were pretty similar to ours, but they had like 2K people or so, and they were stopping. They had taken the combine, and they had they had beaten the combine multiple times, and then they get funded and they lose it. Right? And isn't that just what exactly we've said many times? Is that the target that they're looking for is unreasonable and causes people to trade too risky. This is just straight up what it is, guys. Especially if you're going to get it in a month, it's too risky. The amount that they're expecting you to make every month is simply not sustainable. If you're really hitting that every month, you are a really effing good trader. And that's the level of that they're expecting anybody to be in for them to fund you. No. Their business is not funding people. Their business is not funding people. Because from my perspective, if your business was funding people, then when you were doing something that was preventing people from being able to make money once they're funded, you would change it. You would change it and you would say, well, we're going to bring our target down a little bit because we want people with more consistency rather than overall profit. But they don't do that, which says to me that really their business is selling people combines. And I say, you don't need to do the combine anymore. Just trade micros. Just trade micros. I agree that their business isn't funding people. It is combines, but their traders suck. And I know a trader who trades with TSC, and he's been going strong for over 6 months. Okay, come back when he's been there for 2 years. If you find me a Treasury trader that has been funded, oh my, that's been funded and stayed funded for 2 years, then I will be quite impressed. But it could be that maybe they do something really aggressive to get funded and then they tone it back once they get funded. That could happen. I think he will be trading his own cash in 2 years. And so then that's my next question is, if he's that good, why isn't he already trading his own cash? Because honestly, like, let's just say that to safely trade the 10-year one contract, you need $5,000, right? He should have already made that at Top Step. So why not just go and open up your own account now at that point? Right? There's just Do you have the same opinion of SMB Capital? Do they have a combine now? I have the same opinion of any combine at this point. No, this guy is measured. He is an American. He used TST during his learning process. He didn't have money to fund an account, but he is legit. SMB takes 50%. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's just to me, now that there are micro futures, I think you're better off trading the micro futures. Like they're saying this guy is a new guy. Let's say that, he really is a good trader. He'd done the micro futures. Then he would trade the micro futures. He would have learned on that, and he'd be making money on the micro futures, and he'd have his own account, and he could be sizing up, It's just the only reason, seems to me, can't trade micro bonds. Yeah, but like the 5 years is only like $5 a tick. I mean, you don't need that much money to trade the 5 year or the 10 year, frankly. Although I would say to be safe, you probably want 5,000, but you could get away with less. Okay, so there they took it, didn't get filled. Man, I really didn't like the way that last trade happened, but I think that taking one was what was supposed to happen. Shit. Well, maybe should have just hit into that one. This is looking like a trend day that could just go and not stop. 18.5 was the last swing from about 9:30 on Friday. I think it was in the 1% who knew how to trade but didn't have money. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I should say, I don't mean to say that there is not a single person out there for which the combine doesn't make sense. That's certainly not true. But for the vast majority of people, for the vast majority of people trade micros.
Popularity matters says my view is that most traders suck.
Well, yeah. I just want to be in this. I just want to participate, man. Fetch. I don't like the way that
says,
this is.
have you tried algo trading? Air Cages says don't listen to Seth. He's just mad he didn't win the Futures IO Top Step Trader video challenge.
You know what? I am mad that I did. You know what happened with that? Because they canceled the contest, and I didn't get my Ninja Trader license, but then somebody graciously donated a Ninja Trader license to me because they got them from being a developer partner, or whatever you call it. Not that I need the license necessarily, but they gave it to me, and I was able to help them with order flow indicators. So it was, in the end, it worked out, and it was nice. But man, it's so funny still to think about, isn't it? Jake is asking if I've tried algo trading. I think that means, like, have you tried creating an algorithm and letting it trade
JV
algorithmically?
Says thumbs up.
Hey, there's JV. Thank you very much, JV. And by the way, you came by the other day, and I was thinking, oh, maybe he has something that to take a look at, and then but you just wanted to talk, which is cool. But I really do enjoy when you bring the challenges to me. So don't ever sit there and be like, well, I don't want to be like
Uzi
him,
Knesset
think
says
that
JB
I'm
is
just
a
using
generous
him for
god, lol.
anything. Yeah. And JB is a sage, guys.
Gary Rich says TT has an algo trader platform.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. No, JB is one of the sages we've got here, guys. He knows so much about this market. Well, it's really interesting to me that the treasuries continue to buy up so strongly, and the E-mini
Air
is
Cages
just...
says Top Step Trader pile of poo.
Oh, man.
Popularity matters says yeah, their algo system is awesome.
Yeah, I don't think that I signed up for the version of the TT demo that would give me the algo. Or like the auto spreader, for instance. I just did the basic one.
Uzi Knesset says it reads pile of poop. Lol.
Yeah. It reads out the name of the smileys, right? And the name of the smiley is pile of poop. Where did I try putting that order in at? Wasn't at 17, was it? No, it was 16.5.
Jake says I made algo that buys when there is high volume, high volatility, and big wick. Live Action says, Seth, I hope you didn't close that trade because I asked to see TT.
No, it's certainly not Live Action.
Jake says it's a good bottom buy algo.
I took it off because I just was seeing too much distribution around 15.5, and I was afraid that they were gonna turn and not let me out. And then this new rush of buying came in. But you know what? And there were some spots where I would have liked to have bought it, but this still doesn't look like a good spot for me, you know? Like really the only really good spot that it gave us today was that 10. So now I'm looking at it and thinking, well, we could try selling the E-mini.
Air Cages says chart increasing money mouth face.
It's just the treasuries are buying so aggressively, and the E-mini is not phased by it at all. That can only mean that it is the repo thing. In my mind, I can't think of any other reason why it would do that, other than that it's
Gary
not going to
Rich
do
says
that
my
for
dog
long.
just took pile of poo. Need to look in the pile of poo for my garlic coin exploding head.
Man, and the thing that sucks is it would have been 8 ticks. But I still think I did it right, so don't know what to tell you. See, like the 10-year just kind of looks like it'll just keep going and it's never going to tick against you. Well, it ticked against me like 1 or 2 ticks, right? I think we should. I think that the treasuries is definitely a buy in that they could go higher. But I think that
Gary
these
Rich
guys,
says that Jake, you like TT algo platform.
it's been so much one way that at some point you're going to get a pullback.
Air Cages says
really
look for
ugly.
level break.
And there could be some level break action at 18.5 too. I mean, the trade that I took at 13.5 was a level break. It's kind of funny. Once they scared me out, then they took it bid 14.5, and there's a stack there now, you know. But either this E-mini turns around or the E-mini is buying because they say, hey, the Fed is putting money into the system. That's why the treasuries are going up. Buy all the things. New leak shows operating manuals for re-education camps for Chinese Muslims in Xinjiang.
Air Cages says you didn't
region.
get filled on the level break, right?
Well, I took a level break at 13.5, right? And that one I got filled on. And I only took one. And then I placed one at hold on. And then I placed one at 15.5 and 16.5. Those ones didn't fill.
Popularity Matters says I'm moving over to Trade of 8 Jigsaw. I need lower commission to trade YMNQ. But I can say after returning to Jigsaw it isn't as robust as TT. I have faced a few issues with Jigsaw that slows me DWN.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with that is that especially if you're using TT before, there's always going to be a few things about TT that you liked that you don't necessarily need, but that you're just, you know, that's the way that you learn. You want them to be there, and they're not going to have them for sure. And there
Air Cages
definitely
says,
seems
guys,
to
have you
be
pre-ordered your Cybertruck yet?
no, man. That thing. You know what? Like this is so funny because that came out. I'm being ADHD. Let me finish with popularity matters first a second, right? Anyways, you're right. There's some things about it that aren't as good, but my question is, are the things that you're getting in TT really worth the amount that you pay for the platform? And I think that at least for me and the way that I trade, the answer is definitely not. No, more like my shortcuts don't always work in Jigsaw, and I have some things that I really need to control on the fly that Jigsaw hangs up on. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. If you have things like that, you should report them for sure. And I do know that Jigsaw has, in fact, somebody showed me the other day. We have a viewer. It was, oh man, it was so great to talk to this guy. He said that he had been watching from the beginning, actually. And, but anyways, he had requested a feature for Jigsaw, and they had already put it in, and they had a video of it on their YouTube channel that was private. So he showed me the feature. And I won't share with you what it is. It's not like a huge deal, but it was pretty cool. I liked it. And there's a couple of things like this that they're doing right now. So anyways, I know that they're making changes and they definitely need the bug report. So if you've got things like that that are not working correctly, then you should let them know.
Uzi Knesset says, I did. Gonna be rollin' deep in MUH bulletproof triangle. Gary Rich says the Cybertrucks looks like a LG washing machine made love to a Yugo, Pinto, DeLorean, and Hummer. Who's the daddy?
Who's the daddy? Who's the daddy? Well, obviously Alana's the daddy. Come on.
Popularity matters says lol.
So I saw a thing. Apparently the reason that the windshield, when they threw the ball in it, that it broke was because they had the window down a little bit. When they had gotten in the car or from banging it,
says that Tesla truck is trash.
They had the window had come down a little bit and there was just a little gap at the top, and that was what made it so that it broke. Isn't that funny? So anyways, I thought, oh man, this thing just looks so ridiculous, but I'm kind of it's like what is like a good, okay, so like for me, this is going to be really dumb. I don't know if this really applies, but we're going to go for it anyways, all right? When I was in like second grade, I think. No, it wasn't second grade. I was much older. I was like 14. Okay, so I was like 14 years old. And this new game comes out called Pokemon. And so I play my Game Boy a lot. My parents buy me Pokemon for my birthday. Not that I requested it, but that was a popular game. And so they put it out. So I'm playing the Pokemon game, and it's a pretty good game. I enjoy playing that game. So I get into it mostly because that's like...
says, yes, Jigsaw is quite buggy. I reported several already and they added them to their total list of fixes.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of little trivial things to fix for sure. So I'm playing this game, all right? And then it starts becoming a thing. Like there's a TV show and there's all these toys and there's these cards. Now, the kids that were younger than me, like all of the elementary school kids, they're like totally into this, right? But for me, like the people in my grade, it just, they didn't play the video game and they thought it was just something for the little kids. It was the same thing with the Power Rangers. It was like my grade, it wasn't the cool thing. That was for like the second graders, And it was like, okay, well, it's not the cool thing, so we shouldn't really be, but you're like strangely intrigued by it. You're like, actually, you know what? That card being made out of all metal, that's really cool. And that it's bulletproof and all this sort of stuff. And that it's electric and that it's actually a reasonable price for a car, that's kind of cool. And then you find out, hey, you know what? There's my buddy at work, he actually thinks it's kind of cool too. And he actually pre-ordered one. He put $100 down to pre-order it just in case he decides that he actually wants it. and it just kind of builds from there. And then all of a sudden it's like everybody's a fan of this car and stuff. And the thing is about this car that I don't think people are realizing is everybody's like, well, listen, your average truck guy is not going to buy this triangle thing. I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. I think that this is like a crossover vehicle, and that you're going to get tons of people buying this that would never consider buying a truck because that's just not like their style. But now that there's a futuristic truck, they're like, hey, but you know what? Like, it can fit 5 people and I can stick stuff in the trunk. Like, this is really useful to me. I think that they're going to expand the truck market. I wouldn't discount the Cybertruck, folks. I personally would not mind having a Cybertruck. Like, it's electric, so I can drive it to work every day. It's electric, so I can drive it to work every day. And then, I've been hauling stuff around. I think it would be useful.
Gary Rich says I heard the Cybertruck comes with a cotton candy machine loaded with SJWs.
Loaded with what?
Greg Orlovsky says should have been a smash glass checklist.
There you go.
Popularity Matters says it depends on the price point.
So I'm still from the position of this. You definitely want to buy the Treasuries, but like,
Popularity
is it
Matters
safe?
says I would take a Model 3, but then I could get a used Cayman S for the same price.
E-mini still moving up. Well, you really can't short that in the E-mini, can you?
Live Action says I actually had a top broker tell me not to bother with volume, and they have one of the most popular charting for active traders and used in prop firms.
Well,
Michael XC says the main market for trucks is people who buy trucks. As far as I know, people who buy trucks are mostly in red states, and I don't see those people buying these trucks.
Oh, but it's a different type of truck. It's going to expand the truck market. Because why do those people not buy trucks? Because it's not cool. In the city, having a truck is not cool, folks. Then you're part of the climate change deniers. But you see, if you have an electric truck, now all of a sudden you're super woke, right? You can sit in there and in that truck and just be like.
Michael XC says also Tesla cars are always in beta.
Always in beta. Well, that's a one thought that I've had, because is that really going to be like, is that literally what it's going to look like?
Popularity Matters says they said don't bother with volume. What do you mean? I've heard a pro say that volume isn't as useful as it was for short-term traders.
Well, that's certainly true. That's certainly true, right? Like, if I see volume, all that means is that that's the current situation. It tells me absolutely nothing about what is going to happen in the future. There could be some huge rush of sell volume come into this market out of nowhere. Like, that can totally happen right now. Some China and the United States announced that a deal has been struck and that they're going to be signing it in Singapore, since we're talking about Singapore, on Friday, and this would sell.
Matters says biggest issue I hear with Tesla is that they cost a lot of money but do not have luxury build quality.
That might be true. Should try. I should do some more research on them. But yeah, I'm sure that many brokers would come in and say, well, the volume doesn't matter because they want to sell the charting platform. And probably the majority of their clients are using charts. Probably the majority of their guys that are actually making money that they've talked to, that might be using charts. It doesn't mean that volume's not a better way of doing it, because the issue that you got to remember with volume is that volume can be extremely reliable in the short term.
Uzi Knesset says personally, I wouldn't trust anything a broker says lol.
Yeah, exactly.
Gary Rich says if I ever get caught in a cyber truck I'll become a cyber C at K. Live Action says platform free if you're active trader. Luis Alarid says saw the video of the Tesla truck outpulling a Ford F-150.
It outpulled the Ford and uphill. And uphill, too.
Popularity Matters says I don't use volume a ton when trading fast markets. I do use VAP constantly refreshed in the moment.
Well, I don't know how you would trade without volume profile stuff. So,
Michael XC says also you don't have your car while you're waiting months for your Tesla to get repaired.
yeah. Anyways, I'm sure that you got to remember that the way that I trade with a volume and on the DOM is the hardest way to trade, in my opinion. I don't know if there is a more difficult way to trade. Maybe a more difficult way to trade would be the same kind of scalping, but with spreads. Okay, but it's hard. You've got to know all of the things about the news. You've got to know all of the things about this particular market and what can be moving it. And then you have to have a lot of experience with just reading order flow, and that's hard. And most people aren't going to do that. They just aren't. And they did take 17 off her. So it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me to see, broker say things like that, because the truth of the matter is that the people that the retail traders trading like this are like the vast minority. The vast minority. But what I will tell you, and something that I know as a fact, is that when you're trading at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or what have you, they're using a DOM. That's how they do this stuff. They don't even necessarily look at the same things that we do because they're making them happen, per se. So their perspective on it is a little bit different, but they use a DOM. And that's why I say you should use a DOM too. If you want to be the most competitive, then you've got to be doing something that most people aren't willing to do. And that's this. It's the volume profile. It's hard, but there's a real edge in it. There's other edges. You could totally do it just based off of price action or a volume profile or a chart. Or I've seen people profitable with all those things. Even one tick trades, I've seen people that, at least on the time frame that they showed me, profitable on one tick trades. Right? So, but yeah, probably broker's not going to tell you the. Oh, JB says that it's.
JB says that's a faulty test, pulling the Ford. JB says the instant the Ford's rear wheels started spinning, it was never going to win that pull test. It had zero grip to hold against the Tesla.
Okay. Well, that certainly they would rig it, wouldn't they?
Popularity Matters says I only have 5 DOMs up. Popularity Matters says I also disagree. DOM isn't the hardest style. It is a more reliable style.
Okay.
Michael XC says sure there are much harder ways to trade, the ones with the huge drawdowns. Luis Alarid says is a VWAP an important tool. Popularity Matters says volume profile DOMs it equals DOM trading. There are many DOM trading styles.
What would be the hardest way of trading? Do tell. I was liking that sell in there, and I was saying, well, that's the biggest sell that they've had, and then they didn't take anything at 17. Algo's buying bonds because other algos
Uzi
buying
Knesset
stocks.
says trading is the hardest way of trading face with tongue.
Yeah. Well, so here's an argument in favor of DOM trading, is that even if you're not doing DOM trading, it's probably going to take you a couple of years to figure things out and get good at trading. So you might as well put all of that effort into a method that'll be the most reliable. Maybe. Are they going to buy into this 18.5? I suppose we could put this in here. They might try and do the level break this time. We'll see if they give us another free look.
Gary Rich says blindfolded is hard to trade, looking for inner order flow, LOL.
That would be hard.
Popularity Matters says turtle trading taking every single loss after loss, waiting for your winner that goes to the moon with a 30% win rate, then getting whipsawed.
Yeah, well, okay, so that's not right. So I wanted the level break. There wasn't an iceberg there at 18. Problem though, the cumulative delta since the E-mini open has come down
Popularity
significantly.
Matters says turtle trading created millionaires and broke PPL in the same trading firm. Some just couldn't take the losses.
It's come down in cumulative delta, and we're still up at the highs. So this buyer might still be out there, and he's totally getting filled. But that trade did not work out the way that it was supposed to so far. Probably it's going to tick up again, though, so they might give us another chance. If they do, I could totally see something like that, right?
Live Action says that's like those indicators that claim work after massive long-term backtest. Problem, you go broke first before you get to profit.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems that I've seen, and this kind of sounds similar to that, when you're doing a back test, is like, what is your exit strategy? Because what a lot of those strategies do is they say, here's my entry, and I use my same signal for my exit. And when you do that, like, you don't get an entry at every good buy location, right? So you're not going to get an entry at every good sell location. So you could end up with a trade where they just stay in it forever, and it just so happens. And so if they happen to get, a really good runner off of that sort of signal, it totally screws your statistics, So like then you would have to sit down and say, okay, how many trades actually happen like that where I stay in it for a really long time and I make a ton or I lose a ton? How often do those happen, and what is the actual edge on those? And if you have like 100 of them and you can show an edge, then maybe it's a thing. But most people, they don't split the data out enough to know that. And so you could be back testing it in NinjaTrader, and turns out that it's only, there's only like 5 trades like that, and it just happens to be profitable. But then that makes the whole strategy profitable. And so they think that it works when in reality it doesn't. And if they had like a real exit strategy that was better suited towards what you were doing, like let's say that it's a strategy that looks at volume and it sees some overextension on one side, then you only want to catch that swing. You only want to catch that swing. So you're going to need an exit strategy that tells you that there's a chance that swing
Popularity
has
Matters
ended.
says Richard Dennis was legit and his test worked. Take everyday PPL, give them simple rules and see who would be successful. They were trading like 20 markets. But psychologically it is tough.
Anyways, and then if you have a real exit strategy, you might get out a lot of the time and it still go. That will certainly happen, but overall you have a statistical edge on your exit as well as your entry. Then you can sit down and you can say, it's a little bit of a different thing. But that's one of the traps that I think algorithmically that's probably the most common trap that people fall into algorithmically, is that it shows there's an edge when it's being caused by outliers. The overall backtest says that there's an edge, but there actually isn't. If you take the outliers out, there's no edge. Because your outliers are more likely to not do what you want in the future, right? That's quite a bit of profit taking at 23.5 in the 5-year. The E-mini is selling now, though.
Live Action says Peter Borish has a good strategy video on trade entry.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at the moment, I think a lot of people have good entries. I think a lot of people can find good entries, but then they don't know how to take that strategy and make good exits out of them. I think that happens a lot. I think that I wanted to make a video about when to exit, because like last week we didn't have a single losing trade, right? And I think that was largely because we had good exits. Okay. What?
Popularity Matters says I think they have poor money management and poor psychology.
You say that, but listen, if you have a bad strategy, it's almost impossible to have good psychology. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Most people, they just have their entries and then they take their exit based on how they feel.
Popularity Matters says of course.
What the hell? Okay. What the?
Popularity Matters says they suck at both.
Okay, well, I was trying to, get out here, but what just happened says that I should hold it. I don't like this one bit. It makes me nervous. I'm down, and it's like, well, you got to hold it onto it now. But that was insane. And did you see that was like 9,000 buying into the 5-year, and now he's going to push it up again? That is cray cray. Of course, they suck at both. Now, listen, my point is just if you don't have a good strategy, the psychology almost doesn't matter, right?
Popularity Matters says poor entry, poor exit equals poor money management and poor psychology. They haven't properly framed what trading is.
Because you're going to run into a situation where you're taking trades and then it doesn't have a long-term expectancy. Eventually you're going to start losing, and that has a real effect on your psychology. And, it's like Futures Trader talks about psychological bank or whatever it is, that it's like you have this confidence, and if it's slowly being beaten down, you're getting it here, and your psychology is just slowly decreasing over time. Whereas if you actually have a strategy that's profitable, you can build that psychology up, and you can build that confidence to say, in this certain situation, this is when I need to take it off, or what have you, right? So you really need to have a good strategy to begin with. And the biggest problem that I see out there is that, and I certainly did this for a long time, is that you'll have a good entry, but then they have absolutely no way of telling when to take it off. For me, I want to see distribution.
JB says I don't know about 5s and 10s, but the 30-year looks like it is hunting that price level. The FOMC minutes came out at last week 160.09.
So the 5-year is doing something weird, JB. They really bought strongly in the 5-year. The 5-year is just trying to squeeze them. I think that they could totally hit 09 in the 30-year, but just based off of what I'm seeing over here, I think that there could be more. And the great thing about it is that it seems like they don't really care whether the E-mini goes up or down as to whether or not they want to buy it. But where are they going to distribute at, right? So that's me. For my exit, I want to see signs of distribution. And then I have ways of figuring out where within that distribution I actually want to get out of it, right? But that's the strategy. I want to catch one swing, and I'm only going to be taking more than one swing if I have a really strong indication that this is just going to trend all day.
Killer says hello, person raising hand.
Hey, how are you? New name. Welcome to the stream.
JB says could be the big guys positioning in front of the long weekend?
I don't know. So I don't know if you're here earlier.
Popularity Matters says this is why I scalp. My confidence bank builds up because I get to see far more winners than losers, not depend on just good risk reward to make money. It also lets me mentally sit out when needed.
I got to tell you, having a week like last week, we did really well. It really changes your perspective on things, but that can also be a trap, right? Because I tend to get overly aggressive. Anyways, so JB, I don't know if we were here earlier, but we were talking about the repo thing. And I was saying, it looks to me that there is a shortage of cash in the market. And we're just, all of the information that we've read about the repos today says that the banks are still needing liquidity, and that here the year end is coming and there's going to be another, there's another issue, and that appears to be why they're buying things up. And I'm seeing both the treasuries and the E-mini buying, It's kind of like the E-mini is saying that the bank is continuing to be easy and pumping liquidity into the system, so buy all of the things. That looks like the trade that's going on. Of course, it could flip at any second and we could be totally wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's what's going on. And so could they be trying to get all of that before the long weekend? I think absolutely. Well, I mean, there is still some big news, right? Like there's GDP on Wednesday. Okay. So let's not forget about that. There are some reasons. There is some reasons to trade the rest of this week. But I think that going into December, and this is the whole, like the time period that they tend to buy for the month, I think that they're expecting a lot of demand in treasuries in December, and they're buying it up right now because of that. I think. That's my theory.
Live Action says the trick is proper expansion, making the chart make sense.
Okay, so that right there tells me I'm in the wrong spot. In fact, you might take the week off.
Popularity Matters says I might take the week off. I'm not going to see the action I want this week. Live Action says, did you see Levin last night destroy impeachment hearing? He said there is not a single lawmaker or attorney in the media that knows the law better than him.
Wow. The problem with impeachment is that the law doesn't necessarily matter. If you have the votes, you have the votes, and if you don't, you don't. I would hope that our elected representatives try to follow the law in their actions as best as possible, but not all of them are lawyers. I think that the law supports Donald Trump's case right now, but you never know. Yeah, so we've had some strong action, and the 5-year definitely bought up, but now they're able to tick up and down without a whole lot trading. That's not necessarily what I would like to see. Well, they took that one pretty well. This is still like a really bad spot in the range, and I'm not getting the kind of a level break hold at 18 that I want. No, see. They were balanced at 17.5, which says
Popularity
which means
Matters
I'm in the
says
wrong
impeachment
spot.
isn't a standard court procedure, so framing it as such is a bit dishonest.
Well, I wouldn't say that. So there's this whole thing on the left where they seem to think that the law doesn't matter. That's not true. The law matters, okay? The Senate is supposed to follow the law, okay? But there's some disagreement on what the law is. There are some people on the Democrat side that say you don't actually have to have broken any kind of a law. We can just impeach you if we don't like you. Well, I don't think that was what the framers intended. I think that you would have a very difficult time getting a Senate to impeach based on those parameters. And that's kind of the issue here, is that you have
Live
a president.
Action says Giuliani laughed at all his critics and claimed he will be exposing some big news very soon.
Yeah, now Giuliani, that one I can't even comment on that one, man. The stuff that is coming out of Giuliani's mouth is just like sounds crazy. And the things that people are saying about Giuliani sounds crazy. And I suspect that they're all just playing the media and that there's nothing there, to be honest. Somebody's definitely trying to step in and sell this now.
Popularity Matters says talk about his fall from grace. Rudy used to be an honorable guy.
Yeah, but does he really actually have something or not? Or do they actually have something on him or not? It just doesn't. I wouldn't pay too much attention to that.
I never thought highly about him.
I think it's probably a distraction. But the larger point, you're going to have a very difficult time impeaching a president under the current circumstances without clear evidence of law breaking. It's just not going to happen. And it's funny. I mean, I think that the Republicans are probably bluffing a little bit here.
Popularity Matters says yes, those two gangsta he hired don't exist. Luis Alarid says the indices and bonds doing well today in profit.
Yeah. Man, you just interrupted my train of thought there, folks. Anyways, they're not going to impeach him. And what's going on with Rudy, I have no clue.
JB says 160.09 held in the ZB after one test.
Yeah,
Popularity
well,
Matters says Trump is getting impeached, not removed. We already know this. The Senate will not remove.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I think the Republicans are bluffing, but the Republicans are saying that they don't even think that the House has enough votes to file articles of impeachment at this point. I think that it will probably be close, but I think that the Democrats will eventually push it through simply because if they don't, man, that would be a real disaster for them. This whole situation is pretty awful for me, guys. Because I would like out, but there's 17 is not necessarily the spot for me to bail. But by the time that it's no longer the spot to bail, then what are you going to do, right? The E-mini is just going and going
Gary
and going.
Rich says it's all bullshits on impeachment. Stop falling for the BS propaganda.
Yeah, well, it's...
Live Action says I hear some Dems are abandoning ship at this time.
I mean, I would be... Well, it's a real conundrum from on their side, right? Because they went forward with this, their base would be so upset if they didn't impeach. So they kind of have to go through with it. So I think these reports that Democrats are abandoning ship and things like that, I think that's probably bluffing from Republicans. That's kind of, they're trying to mess with the psychology. Probably it's more the case that Democrats think that they made a really big mistake, but they have to go through with it, is probably what they're thinking. But you're going to see a lot of news stories. So like the thing with the Giuliani thing, oh my gosh, really?
Live Action says they're saying they need more to stay with party lines.
Yeah. The media was really wanted impeachment. I mean, let's be honest. The media wanted impeachment, right? Of course they wanted impeachment. They make money off of it, right?
Popularity Matters says there is enough to know that the Trump admin foreign policy was amateur hour, sketchy but maybe not illegal.
Maybe. They wanted impeachment because that's a news cycle. And what is going to cause people to watch the news more than impeachment? I mean, that's historical stuff, right? So of course they want it. But now the thing is that they've gone through the hearings and people aren't tuning into the hearings. And the public has already kind of lost interest in the thing, according to the ratings and the numbers and everything that we've seen. So the media needs a news story. The media needs a news story. The left media in particular really needs a news story. Where are they going to turn? Oh, well, there's this weird thing with Rudy Giuliani. It has all of the makings of, drama, even though it's, just the whole thing just seems crazy. So I would be really skeptical about reading too much into it because the media is going to trump things up that don't matter. Right? And the media probably doesn't really know what's going on. They just kind of hope that there's something there when maybe it all could just be bluster. So be very careful about reading too much into the Giuliani thing. I mean, I'm looking at Reddit and they all seem to think that the Giuliani is about to be exposed any day now, and that's probably nothing's going to happen. Either way, he's probably just full of crap. That's the way that those guys work. It's all PR, and they're saying what people want them to say.
Popularity Matters says there is enough to know that the Trump admin foreign policy was amateur hour, sketchy but maybe not illegal. Live Action says amateur or not better than no policy. Popularity Matters says the Rudy situation seem legit. Live Action says or terrible prior incompetent policy. Gary Rich says the current round of retard Dems have no policy to help citizens economic-wise. They are selling their base chum, a bunch of suckers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think that's true. I don't think that the Democrat economic strategy right now is very wise. But in terms of, was it amateur hour? I mean, can you as an administration have an effective foreign policy if half of your workers in the State Department are actively working against any kind of decision that you make? I mean, that's the thing that you got to sit here and say, like, I know the Democrats are trying to portray this as, well, his foreign policy was bad and we should remove him for that. But I think that the real story here in my mind is that there was people in the state that are pretty much admitting to actively working against him.
Awful decisions, then they
no,
should
you
work
shouldn't.
them.
No, you shouldn't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, the president is president for a reason. It is his decision. The foreign policy of the United States has been left, as defined in the Constitution, to the president's discretion. And if you don't like his foreign policy, you can advise against it, but that is it. It is his choice. It is his choice. And if you go in and you say, well, I don't really agree with their foreign policy, or, just wait it out, that's like next to treason in my book. You just cannot, we cannot have an effective government if we start doing that about everything. Okay? You sit down and you say, well, this president is a special case situation because he doesn't seem too smart and I just really don't like the decisions that he makes. Then that gives everybody carte blanche to ignore anything that they don't like from any president. Where do you draw a line? I'll tell you, there's nowhere that you can draw that line. That's like trying to draw a line in grass with a pencil. Nobody's going to see it. It basically doesn't exist at that point. They must do what the president says, period, even if it's a bad decision. Because that's the way that the system is set up. And if we don't do that, then you're going to have a real disaster. So he got rid of nonpartisan experts for amateurs. He got rid of foreign policy experts that did not believe the things that he believed, and he got a ton of he tried to bring in people that held more of the foreign policy views that he had. And of course, they're going to be less experienced because these people in foreign policy have been in foreign policy there for like 40 years. I mean, gosh, that's the thing that's crazy about it, is that Donald Trump is trying to enact a significant change in foreign policy that goes back to World War II, that goes back to FDR, right? It's been the same foreign policy people in there since FDR. And yeah, of course that means he's going to have to get rid of some people, and you're going to have to put some people in charge that might not know as much about what they're doing. But that's kind of the downside. But if you want to change things, then it's worth it. And you put people in, and they will get experience, and you will find the people, and eventually they will sort those sorts of things out. But that doesn't give you cause to be able to say that we should work against the president's foreign policy. That is just extremely dangerous. I mean, honestly, you gotta think, if Obama was in there, would you like it if there were Republicans there that were actively working against him? I think his cabinet has worked against him. Maybe. I think that his cabinet realizes that he can be impulsive. And so they might ignore him from time to time until it's clear that that's really what needs to happen. Okay. But the whole thing of like actively working against a policy, like a policy that he ran on, like that's the other thing, is like, this is why people elected Donald Trump, was because they didn't like the foreign policy. They wanted a president that was reluctant to get into wars, that was going to get us out of wars, that was going to get us out of supporting other countries and supporting corruption and all of this foreign policy aid that just seems to get distributed to rich people and all these things. That's why they put him in there. And then when he goes and he does something that is in favor or that is in line with what he campaigned on, you can't turn around and then say, well, I don't agree with it, so I'm going to work against it. That's trying to nullify the will of the voters. That's the whole deep state thing, right? But now is the point at which I have to try and relate it back to trading. I don't know if there is. It's just in my opinion, you cannot undermine the chief executive like that. That no good will come of that in the long run. The amount of damage that will do is way more than any one individual bad foreign policy could do. So that's how I look at it. Well, now that they've taken 17 offer, it's just kind of sitting quiet here. The E-mini looks like that the E-mini might try and turn around again. They came just short of a new high, and it's petering out, which is really interesting to me. Oh, there are Treasury auctions. There's a 2-year today, a 5-year tomorrow, 7-year on Wednesday. Well, when I was sitting there and it was like going back and forth at 17, I thought that it would let me out at 17.5, and now it's not. And there the 5-year took a turn down that may be a false breakout. It's kind of weird to see it go with all of that volume and distribution up there, and then it returned back to like market making could go anywhere mode. Okay, well, the bidders are having a hard time holding out 23. Whoa. He's going to try, though.
Popularity Matters says I didn't vote for Obama. So bad example. I'm for the deep state working against any bad ideas.
No.
Live Action says Pete Buttigieg said he's on the bottom wealth of all candidates. Oh boy, what a selling point for leading the country. JB says there were Republicans working against Obama for 8 years.
So
Uzi Knesset says I think his presidency, just by virtue of existing, has exposed the way the state actually operates. Especially in coordination with the media. Like him or not, he's certainly exposed the. Uzi Knesset says frayed wires of the machine. Popularity Matters says deep state serves a purpose.
Shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. That is a quick path to tyranny, man. Because what you're basically saying is that the deep state knows better than all of us, and that they should nullify the decisions of the voters if they feel that if they feel that they should. It's, they shouldn't. Nobody should have that power. The deep state can't help but exist. Sorry, some of these messages aren't going to get read out anymore because we exceeded our limit. I forgot that that's what happened. And you guys are still going away. I remember when deep state was a right-wing conspiracy theory. Now it's a real thing, but it has a purpose. Yeah, it is. It is a little funny to think about, isn't it, Uzi? But that just means it totally exists, right? It definitely exists. Now, did people work against the Obama administration? Well, the Republicans in the Senate certainly did. But the whole thing has been that Obama really purged anybody that was from the Bush administration out. And Bush didn't do the same to Clinton in the same degree. So the policymakers in the government side, the government employees, are very much Democrats. That's a true thing. So you're going to get more of them working against Trump than you are on Obama. The deep state isn't left or right. That's not true. Well, maybe it doesn't matter. The deep state definitely has an opinion. Right? Let's put it that way. They definitely have an opinion. They definitely have an agenda. And that agenda might not match up with what is in the who is it president. It might not match up with the voters. And I say, who are they to be able to nullify all of those people? They're not elected. It's not their choice. And if you give them that power, where does it stop? Right? Now you're getting into all this stuff where it's like the head of the CIA could decide to kill the president. Is that what you want? Because that's where that path leads. Trust me, folks. The long-term workers in government, the experts who have been sitting in those positions for years that work towards their long-term ideals, that isn't a left or right stance. Well, it could be. But what the point that I'm making is that there has been a foreign policy in place since World War II that the deep state very, very dearly holds on to, that the American public doesn't like anymore. They didn't like it back in Vietnam. They didn't like it when we got involved in Iraq. And now they've finally gotten a president that they think is actually going to do something about it. And now you have all of the deep state actors working against it. It's wrong. It's so wrong. How can you not see the problem with that? The deep state is literally working against what voters put the president in there to do. There you go. They squeeze me. The deep state can't help but exist. Maybe, but that doesn't mean that they should be doing things, right? Like, of course, there's going to be people that have been in government for a long time, but that doesn't give them free reign to cancel out the policy decisions of voters. This is really turning down. I think that they're going to squeeze me out, and then they might turn. But I wanted to get out, and they didn't let me. I probably should have just marketed it out at 16F or 17 at some point. And yeah, the entry signal was never really very good either. So I really bungled that trade up. So doopy-doopy-doo. What we know about Trump is that he had a lot of foolish ideas that long-term lifers had to walk away from him. So what? So what? You need a fun title. Oh yeah, I haven't put in a fun title. Well, I still don't understand what's so foolish about Trump's presidency, aside from being a foolish, boorish boomer. The only thing I see wrong with the country right now is everyone freaking the F out over every bit of information they consume, right? I mean, like, here's the thing, is you're trying to make me say, like, you're making an argument that you can't prove. Which is to say, Donald Trump's foreign policy is bad and dangerous. Prove it. Do you have a time machine? Can you go 10 years into the future and see that Donald Trump's foreign policy was really bad, and that if we did a different foreign policy and we changed the timeline, that the world would be better off? Can you prove that? You can't prove that. So how can you sit down and say, well, we need to do something about it because this policy is dangerous? You're basically saying that we should break the Constitution over an opinion. You can't do that. I'm repeating what all the leaks and his own people have said. We have to keep him from foolish and illegal things. Well, that's probably true, but that doesn't mean that you can prevent him from doing something that he was elected to do. That's the problem here, guys. So it's done this many times now. Look at all those bids to make that go up. And that's really like the key thing is like, okay, if Donald Trump wants to fire Robert Mueller and the White House counsel thinks that's a bad idea and ignores him, hoping that he'll cool off and feel different about it tomorrow, then fine. But when you're talking about an opinion that Donald Trump has held for the majority of his life and that he campaigned on and that he was elected to do, you can't come in and say, well, we're not going to do that. Okay. So we've started to get some uptrend again, and it turned pretty quickly. Did you take a trade today? I did. I took 2 trades. I took one, then I made one on, and then we've got this one that we're in right now that I really screwed up. Even if I end up getting out break even, I think I really screwed up. I made some mad money on tweets he has sent out, still waiting for the paycheck someday. Obviously, they can do it. You just don't like it. If it were illegal, then they would be facing prosecution. It is illegal, and they should be facing prosecution. That's the thing. Okay, some of this stuff that we've seen in these White House in these hearings, if Republicans were in charge of the House, I think that they would be pushing charges. Absolutely, no question about it. You can't turn around and undermine the president's foreign policy like that. And I mean, gosh, there's not laws against that. That's a dereliction of duty. Just because they're not being prosecuted because politics and stuff doesn't mean that what they did was okay. Mm-mm. You have a couch writing on that he won't finish his first term. So now they're jiggling it around. It looks to me like that they still want to buy, but somebody kind of sold it and they're kind of shaking it to try and get them to. You're trying to get some market makers to move. Get it unstuck. His chain of command. I don't know about the rest of you, but I served in the military, and like doing the complete opposite of what you're told by superiors isn't exactly legal. I'm telling you, if the president gives a direct order and you ignore it, then that's not legal. I don't know what the statute is for that. I've seen it listed out before, but I guarantee you it's not legal. Man, see, they gave me a tick and then that was it. You don't know, but you know. Well, listen, I'm very certain that I've seen the statues listed out on the various social media things that I've seen. I can try and search it and make sure that I've found it, but I'm pretty confident that that's illegal. Now, I'm not entirely confident that you have enough evidence from what's been presented at this time to get a prosecution, but what we're describing is definitely illegal. And I think that probably if you give me enough time, I could probably find it. And let's see how this stuff divides us. Wow. To me, it's just crazy that we have people saying that, oh yeah, people totally should contradict and prevent the president's policies from going into action, regardless of whether or not voters put him there to do that, simply if they think that it's the right thing to do. That is just so insane to me. And that to me is sounds like an opinion that could only be created by the particular situation. Because I highly doubt that anybody would be saying that if Obama was still president. You know? Yeah. To me, awesomeness is being divided on stuff, but still getting along. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, it's not particularly a trading related issue, is it? But it certainly seems to be the key issue at hand in all of this mess that hasn't been discussed, you know? Like to me, the thing that should be getting, fought out here is whether what these officials did was right or not. What the fetch? That was a really strong bid, but it didn't stay for long. They're still willing to fade him on it, huh? I wonder if somebody knows something. My daughter was a nuclear engineer. Teddy Roosevelt, where do you want to ship? Oh, that's cool. I remember when CNN did real news. I don't. You know what? By the time that CNN was a big enough thing in the United States that people were talking about it, they were already doing dumb stuff, right? Like the first time that I ever really paid attention to what was the news at CNN was when they spent forever and ever and ever under the Obama administration over that plane. You guys remember that? That was the first time that I ever really knew about or cared what CNN was doing. I'm all about what voters put a president to do doesn't give a president carte blanche. I think it does, actually. That also doesn't mean the insider should not work against the bad and well, okay, so if the president does something that is illegal, then there are channels to deal with that sort of a thing, all right? That's where you get the whistleblowers and all that sort of a thing, for sure. Man. This has just given me all of the best opportunities and everything, and it's still not going. It's still stuck here. No. I think that they might have moved because the E-mini started turning down. I don't know. Anyways. I don't think I've ever had something be quite so difficult. And it's time for me to go, you know? Again. They're just insisting on stopping Seth out. Listen, you could stop worrying about my warrant order and you could go back to 18 and I'll gladly get out of your way. Come on. That takes some willpower. I think my stomach would go deep state on my butt. Consider a fish oil supplement. Fat keeps you from being hungry. Oh, okay. You're doing this 1 meal a day thing. Well, that's what you were getting into. Okay, well, I have to at the very least go and, like, get all my stuff together. Come on. But I'm just going to let it sit like that because I don't think that there's much else that I can do about it. All right? So I'll be right back. Still here. All right, let's put our shoes on. I think it should go up to here, but I don't know, man. It's like okay. So now we gotta move it to here. European session looked thin when I was watching it in a tight range. Well, I'm surprised that the mini bought up as much as they did, but it looks a little rosy to me. Really? See, this is kind of the thing where it just gets really frustrating. Like, there's still a good chance that they're going to go up. And in fact, I think there's a really high probability that at some point they're going to trade through that 18.5. It's just like, how long is it going to take to do it, you know? And obviously I got in at the exact wrong spot. So like the real problem with this one was that my entry was bad. There was no, what is the word? There was no stack there at 18. And, you know, I was taking a risk that it was going to happen and it didn't. And I should have been able to react more quickly. And then instead I ended up in this trade for a really, really long time. For some reason it's not. Oh, now it's showing it to me. Okay. Okay. Now the E-mini is really starting to go. There's quite a bit of liquidity through here to 31.25 or so. Smell of a cigar, huh? I hate the smell of just like any smoke, coffee, alcohol. I think all those things just smell so disgusting to me. Come on, buy it. Please, sir. I want to fill. Coffee is lifeblood. Yeah, I really don't like the smell of coffee. It used to be like, it wasn't something you could smell in Utah very often. But then when I went to school, I remember all those kids, they'd always come in with the Starbucks, man. And I just could not, like, anybody in the room had it. You could smell it. I hated it. Couple marks. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. There's a scene in the movie Geekly where she learns to choose a cigar for her. I get excited when I smell coffee. Well, I guess if you drink it and you know what it does to you and you like that feeling, then that's the other thing, is that caffeine just does not work for me. Caffeine can actually make me sleepy. Like, the thing with caffeine is that it fulfills that urge to do something in my mind, but it doesn't actually clear my mind or make it easier to focus or anything. Okay, the 5-year did take 23.5. Well, the buyers are making their push slowly, but it's taking a lot of words to get them to do it. Man, I have not. I really shouldn't be doing this. I'm supposed to be gone by 9, but I just really like it looks like it's going. I really want this to work out. So this better be worth it. If I don't get my fill, I'm gonna be very upset. Waiting all this time, and then they don't do it. You know. I was read the champagne glass was shaped to fit Marie Antoinette's Marilla. I don't know about that one. 1306, huh? Okay. Well, now they're going to take off now that I'm out, guys. Well, you know what? It's okay. We lost 1 tick overall. So we're okay. We're okay. But that was a bad trade. And that first trade that we got out at was a bad trade too. I mean, it was the right trade, but should have held it. Oh well. Not the best action for us today. I think that probably what really got us off was that there was a good signal there and we just kind of ignored it. So anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys. 11 likes. So impressive. You guys are just wonderful. I will catch you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.